Today we're going to talk about Explain Everything. So the first thing I want to do is find my Explain Everything app, which has this big white E on that purpley blue background. I'm going to go ahead and tap to open it. I'm looking at the top where it says New Project, Invite, Join, or Share. Right now I'm just going to create a new project, so I'm going to tap the plus. I have an option for a blank canvas, a template, which is something that is already pre-created, or looking at some of my files. So if I have old projects that I want to pull in, a PowerPoint or something to that effect, I can pull it in from here. Today I'm just going to look at the blank canvas so that we can go over the tools. Tap blank canvas. And here we are. I'm going to go ahead and look where that finger's pointing me to those two pieces of paper with the plus sign. This is where I can add media. So if I tap on Add Media, I can add any pictures, videos, web browser. I can pull in anything that I want to add currently right now. I can also add in equations and new audio. Or if I look below that, there's a list of things that I can add that I already have. So media that I already have, maybe a video or an image that I've already taken a picture of. Any files, if I tap on files, I can pull in a file that maybe I have from my Google Drive or my OneDrive, anything like that I can pull in from that source. I'm going to go ahead and tap back so that you can see. I can add clip art. Clip art are different things that Explain Everything just has in there, little images that you can add to enhance your presentation. I can pull in images from Unsplash. So these are images that are copyright free and you can use them in any of your presentations that you put together. If I'm looking for something on angles, maybe I can type in angles and look for an image that my students might be able to use for demonstrating different types of angles. Once I find the one I'm looking for, I can simply tap on it and it will move into my presentation. And then finally, I can add existing audio. So if I have a song or something I want to add in there that's already on my iPad or on my device, I can go ahead and tap Add Existing Audio, and that will also be added to my presentation. The hand tool will allow you to move objects around, such as a picture or something that you've written or text. You can take it and with one finger just simply move it from place to place, or you can use two fingers and pinch in and out of an image to really zoom in or zoom out of some details that you might want to show.
So whatever you
We're going to go ahead and pinch that and move that off to the side. The next tool we're going to use is the drawing tool. I'm going to tap on the drawing tool. You'll see that you have a little circle here up on top. If I tap on this, this will allow me to choose the width of my marker or my pencil that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap on this one. You'll notice underneath that you have a marker. If I tap on the marker, I have the ability to choose marker, pencil, or ruler. So I'm going to just go ahead and use the marker for a second. I'm going to choose a black marker and I'm going to take and just draw a line. Granted, that's not the straightest line. It's not too bad, right? So I'm going to, again, take my finger, my hand tool, and move that up out of the way. Now I want to use the pencil and show you what the pencil looks like. So I'm going to take the pencil, same color, same width, and now you see what the pencil looks like compared to the marker. So then you have the ability to really choose what you want to use. I'm going to go back to the marker, and this time I'm going to select the ruler. So now you can see that if I take one finger, I can drag the ruler up and down, and now I can trace over the ruler and I have a perfectly straight line. What's really cool about the ruler is that if I take two fingers like a peace sign and put it on each side of where it says set angle, I can now spin that ruler, and I want a 45-degree angle. I want to be able to show my students how to make a 45-degree angle. I'm looking here in the middle where it says 45-degree angle, and now I can take from my vertex and draw up move my ruler off to the side or down, and now I have drawn that perfect 45-degree angle for my students to see. If I want to get rid of that ruler, I simply tap on the marker tool again and just tap on ruler, and the ruler will disappear. This next one is a fill option. So you'll notice under the black you have that like mint green. If I draw a circle and it's completely clear right now, transparent, if I want it to fill, I can tap on that little shading tool there and it will fill whatever I have my background color is to fill. If I write the word wow, this check mark would allow me to break up those letters so that I can move and manipulate the letters around. So as it is right now, if I go back to my hand tool, I can move that entire word together. If I wanted to break them apart, I could do W, check mark, O, check mark, W, check mark, and you notice there's a box around each of them. So now when I go to my hand tool, I can move each letter individually. Great way to build words. And the final thing I want to show you under the drawing tool is how I can change the colors. So let's say I don't want that really bright neon green. I can hold my finger or my pencil down on that green color, and I have options. I have a stroke option or I have a fill option. So remember, your stroke is that outline color. The fill is if you wanted to fill it in. So I can tap that plus sign and I can kind of move around that color wheel and choose what color I want. If I want to use a color from an image that I might have, I can use that eyedrop tool and then go over the image to choose the exact color I'm looking for. Maybe I want to tie in the image with my presentation. So I can choose the exact color that's in that pane of the window and hit done, and now I have that exact color to use. And that's the drawing tool. If I move down to the highlighter tool, you have the same option. You have the width option first. So how wide you want your highlighter to be. You can change the colors just by tapping on them, and now you have a different color. And let's say I want to just highlight this angle. Right here, you'll see that it's a transparent highlight that I have. All right, well, let's move down to the eraser tool. The eraser tool has 3 different options. Always that width is first, and then you have 3 different options of the eraser. So if I choose the first eraser, that would be the most recent things that I want to erase. So if I try to erase this image up here on the right, the top right, it's not happening. I can't erase anything. If I try to erase that highlighter that I just made, that highlighter mark, I can erase that. This middle tool is if you wanted to erase something that you recently did. Maybe not the last thing that you did, but something you recently did. So those drawing tools. So maybe I want to erase this second word, wow. I'm able to do that. Or maybe I want to erase this border around the image. I'm able to do that. Notice it's not erasing the image quite yet. And then that last tool, eraser tool, that's actually the coolest tool because that will erase in parts of an image. Now keep in mind, I always have this undo button at the bottom, but once I erase part of an image, I cannot undo that. So if I draw a line to break this apart, you'll see that I drew an eraser mark right there in the middle. I can erase part of the image, but the one thing I cannot do is I cannot go back and get that back once I've erased it. You'd have to pull that image back in again. Okay, and then we have the fill tool. The fill tool, same way you change your color of your marker or your pencil and your highlighter, just tap and hold on it, and you can change your colors or the opacity of it. And I can go ahead and fill any closed image. If I don't want to fill the closed image, I can also fill the color of a line. So I can go ahead and tap on the line and it will change the color for me. Underneath that, I have shapes. So I have the ability to choose a shape by tapping on that little square up on top. You can just pick a shape that you want and draw it out on there. Or if I choose the shape underneath it, it's a star that has a dotted star actually and a pencil, I can try to draw the best circle I can and it will automatically auto-correct it for me. So as long as it's pretty close to what it thinks you're talking about, then it will correct it for you. Underneath that, you have the option to add a drop shadow just to make it pop a little bit more. Underneath the tree with the drop shadow, you can change the width of the border. And then of course you have your colors. So again, when I hold down on the color, I have a border color and a fill color. So you choose your border color, what you want it to look like on the outside, and then you can choose your fill color. Then when I draw it, I have exactly what I'm trying to match. To just kind of squeeze that together, move it off to the side so I have more workspace. And the next thing we want to talk about is text. So that A underneath the shape is for text. So I'm going to add some text boxes somewhere. Let's say I want to make that a different color. So again, stroke and fill. I can select it to be red. And maybe I want to say, have a great day. Once I type that in, anything that my settings are at right here on the top, that's what it's going to use to create that text box. If I wanted to edit it or make it bigger, I would have to highlight those words. So maybe I just highlight the word great and I want to make that a little bit bigger. So now I'm making great just a little bit bigger. Just like any text box, if I pull on the little boxes on the outside of it, I can move it around. Now if I try to move it around, most of the time it will move for me, but if you come across the time where it's not moving for you, go back up to the hand tool and always use the hand tool to adjust those or move it around. Okay, underneath that is the cut tool. So I have the option to do some cutting. So maybe I want to cut out the word great. All it's going to do is cut that piece for me, and now it defaults back to my hand and I can move it around wherever I want it. If you wanted to cut out around the word great or around the word wow, I can hold down on that and use the lasso. So now I can really get in detail and go around something if I need to. More than likely you would use that for detailed pictures. And then finally, you have the compass cut tool if you need. Underneath that, you have the delete tool. The delete tool is if I wanted to delete one thing at a time, I would tap on it and you'll see a red dotted line around it with an X. You can tap on several things and you'll notice that whatever has dotted red lines around it, when you hit that X, it will disappear. If I hit undo, I'm going to show you how you can highlight multiple things. So let's say I put my cursor up by the H in half on the top. I can click and drag down and I can delete almost everything at the same time if I wanted to, or I can clear my screen if I needed to. The next thing underneath that is that pointer tool. If I hold down on the pointer tool, you'll see that you have several different options to use for the pointer. So let's say I wanted to make it really fun and use a red lightsaber to take a look at this image up here on top. I can go ahead and hold the red lightsaber there. Now that's pretty small, so I would probably zoom in first to pull that picture back up so that I can really point out what some of these angles might look like. So for instance, there's a right angle right here. Let's take a look at the right angle. And finally, the inspector tool. The inspector tool gives you options to edit, arrange, and lock things in place. So if I'm going to edit something, maybe I want to take this image here, just the image, and I want to duplicate it. So if I duplicate it, now I have, again, back to my hand tool to move it, I have two of the images. So I can have one that's a little farther away and one that's close up. Go back to my inspector tool. I can lock it in place if I wanted to by clicking on lock and then select it with a dotted blue line around it, and then you have options there. If I want to arrange it, so maybe I want to send it to the back, I can send it to the back. And now when I click on my hand tool and move that piece around, you'll notice it goes behind this image. So it's one way that you can hide things for your presentation. You also have the ability, once you click on it, to delete it from the inspector. So you can click on it and just hit that little trash can, red trash can, and it will disappear. Alright, I know I've already talked about the undo button a little bit, but the undo button will bring things back. It does not always bring everything back. If you delete parts of a picture, you can't get those back, but you can definitely move back in your project as you've been editing it. The presentation toolbar, so on the bottom left here, close to the bottom, underneath the undo button, you'll see that there's a presentation toolbar. If I tap on it, you have the standard toolbar, which is what I've been working off of. You have a presenter toolbar, so all that does is it shrinks up your options on your toolbar, and it's really going to be the most useful tool that you're going to use when you're actually presenting. So the standard is what I use to create the presentation, and then the presenter is what I would use to present it. So I have my hand tool, so that's where I can move things around. I have my drawing tool where I can write on it. I have my eraser tool. I have my pointer tool, and then of course my changing of the standard view or presenter view. The simple basic toolbar is something that I would use for students. They can add media, they can move things around, write on it, they can fill colors, draw shapes, add text, and then they can also point things out to you. So that is what I would use for students if they were presenting. I'm going to go back to the standard view for us. And then the very last thing on the bottom is a magnifying glass. That is the pan and zoom tool. So if I take that and I tap on it, I can zoom in and out, and you'll see that it's telling me what percentage it's at, and I can do a quick tap and move it back to 100% or to fit. And those are your tools. So I want to go ahead and save my project. I'm going to go up to the top here where it says whiteboard 10. Yours may say whiteboard 1 or whiteboard 3 or whatever you're working on. I'm going to go ahead and tap that X there, and I'm just going to call this EE Tools. Now I have a couple options to save. I can do a quick save. If I do a quick save, it's going to save on my device, which could cause problems in the future if I don't move those things from my device to the drive or to somewhere else. Or I can choose Copy to Explain Drive. My suggestion is use Copy to Explain Drive because that will always be in your Explain Drive, so you should be able to find that from any device that you sign in to explain everything with. And then you also have the ability to work on it from whichever device that you have in front of you. You have a camera frame option, so if you ever see like a blue line around your image, always look at what your camera frame option is at that point. And then if it's something that you're going to use again in the future, you can save it as a template. So then when you start your project, when you have those templates, you can choose right straight from there, and it would be a great template to have. For example, if you have writing pages that you want to use in the future, or maybe a grid page, graph paper, or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Copy to Explain Drive, and it will sometimes take a few minutes, depending on how much content you have in there, to copy to the Explain Drive. Once it is done, you're good to go. And then I can select Done. Okay, if I wanted to add a page to this document so that it becomes more of like a flip chart, I can go ahead and move up here to this plus sign, tap on the plus sign, and now you'll notice that I'm on page 2 of 2. If I click on that drop down arrow there, it will show me what my first page was and what my second page was. I have the ability to edit within this. It's almost kind of like a project toolbar. So I can go ahead and hit edit, tap on the one I want to edit, and I can change the background of just that slide. So I have the slide bar on the bottom. Maybe I want that background to be a teal blue color. I can click done, and now you'll see that just that one slide that I edited changes the background. If you don't select it, then it will change the background of all of your slides. So you really want to make sure that you're paying attention to how you're editing it. Now again, if I want to add more, I can just tap the little plus sign from there. I can pull things up from my templates, or I can just go with a basic white or even a notebook if I wanted to do that. So now I go back up here to my little drop down arrow again, and now you'll see that I have 3 different slides. To get back and forth from the slides, I can tap on them from here, or I can just hit the arrow. Okay, if I want to go ahead and share with my students or invite my students to join me, I'm going to go ahead and tap on the invite button on the top right. It's going to load my project or set up my project to have students join me. Keep in mind that Explain Everything tells us that it works best if there's 8 or fewer people collaborating on one piece. I have used it before with 10 students, and it seems to work okay with 10, but as soon as you get above that, it starts getting a little bit glitchy. And so I have a join code here, and this would be the join code that I would share with my students, so that when they open Explain Everything, they would click join, tap in this code, and then they would become collaborators on this piece. One thing I want to point out is down here you see a little pencil. It says anyone with the link can edit. So what I want to do is I might want to change that, and next to where that little pencil is, there's a drop down arrow. I can tap on that. I can choose that students can view only, or can view and download, or can edit. So if they view and download, you want them to view the entire thing with you as you're manipulating the project, and then once you are ready to give them the freedom to work independently, that's when they would download it. If they download it first, they're not going to see any changes that you make on the presentation while you're making them in real time. And then I can also allow anyone in my organization to view it, or only specific people. If I choose only specific people, then it will allow me to email this to specific people. So I'm going to go back and hit invite, and down here it says invite others by email. So I can tap in someone's email and invite them. That way it will send them the project directly to them. All right. And once I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And that's when your students will start popping up on the side as they join. One thing I would suggest is if there's a lot of background noise, you would want them to mute their microphones when they enter. Okay, Okay, now we're going to take a look at your sharing options. So if you click this box that has the arrow coming out of it, you have some options to share. You can share it as a web link so that someone can open it directly from the web. You can export it, so you can export it if I tap on that. You have the option to export it as a video, a document, an image, or a project that someone can pick up and continue on with your project. Or the last thing that you have an option to do under that Share is to broadcast. So if you're on a Zoom, you could broadcast your entire screen. Simply tap on broadcast, and then you have an option to broadcast to Zoom. Thing we want to talk about is this record feature. The record feature is just as you would be screen recording a presentation. So I can go ahead and tap on the record button, and it will open up, and as I start moving things around, it is going to record it. If I were doing a math problem with students, I could be adding 2 plus 2 equals 4, and I can show that. When I'm done, I'm going to hit stop. I can go back into the presentation and see exactly where I started writing things. So if you take a look down here, you see where the marker tool comes into play and all of the audio that's along the way. So I can, if I wanted to at this point, drop in an image, and maybe I just want the key to be over here, or maybe I want to put 2 keys plus 2 more keys. So I'll drop those in there, right next to the number 2. And then I can add 4 keys at the bottom here. So now when I go back from the very beginning and I hit play, it's just a different way that you can screen record your presentation. Then once you're done, you can share it out. So if I click on this little play with the link here, I can tap on that. It will be preparing my web link, and what this is going to do is it's going to compile that video, and I can share the video out directly to my students that way if I wish to do that. Once it's done creating, you're just going to tap on done. Again, there's the share button if you want to share that link out. Explain Everything has some really nice features for both in-person teaching and remote teaching. If you have any questions, please reach out.